Hi there. Um, well, I'm back a little earlier than I expected. Um, I was a little late posting my, normal Sunday, Monday video. It's Friday, or for us, evening Friday. Anyway, here I am, and I normally tell you what I'm drinking and what I'm thinking and what I'm listening to. I'll do that like I usually do. Um, right now, closing up here, I'm listening to Nobody by Avenged Sevenfold. Um, and I'm drinking something specific. Um, this right here. Now, I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm going to kind of rant a little bit um, because today I'm a little frustrated. Now, let me start by saying what I'm about to say, me, is not necessarily reflected by Black Bear Distillery. Okay, I'm about to say what I think. Okay, Black Bear Distillery is not necessarily going to back me up, right? Probably, but this is not a Black Bear video. This is my video, and I'm speaking about the company I work for. So today, I was made aware of an article that was about a specific type of product. And normally I kind of bypass most articles about whiskey in general because I'm aware that, especially with big newspapers or big news agencies, that, you know, the person doing the article or doing that story is limited in their knowledge. However, I will say that this article, the person who wrote the article doesn't seem to be low on the knowledge scale. But I don't know personally, so I'm not going to comment on that. But what I am going to comment on is the article itself was about American, excuse me, Irish American whiskeys. Okay? So I have a couple of problems with this article. First problem being they talk about five Irish American whiskeys. Now, for the most part, these are whiskeys that are blended whiskeys with part of it being American, part of it being Irish. Make one whiskey, there you go. Now, I'm not calling out the brands because that's not the point that I'm trying to make. But for the most part, that's what they're referring to in this article is Irish whiskeys blended with American whiskeys sold under one label, blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, they talk about five. One of them, in their own article, they admit that that is not technically a whiskey. That particular brand is American and Irish whiskey blended with some fruit juices like cherry juice and stuff, and is technically what we would call a bottled cocktail, not a whiskey. So, right off the bat, I'm going to say they named four whiskeys that were Irish American and one bottled cocktail that was Irish American. Okay. So that automatically makes me wonder about this article. If you're counting a bottled cocktail as a whiskey, I already have questions. Now, here's the other part that makes me have questions. it starts with a decently lengthed um, discussion with a very specific company. A company that's also, by the way, not included in those five Irish American whiskeys. A totally separate company that's not included in these. Okay? Now, I know this company. I know this company because they're also in Colorado. And I'm not calling them out because I'm not blaming them for this situation, this article. But at the same time, the reason they were talked to is probably because they are in Denver. They are in a bigger city than we are. And that's not necessarily something I'm mad about, but what's interesting is they were talked to first. That was the first part of the article was from them, an interview with them or a discussion with them or whatever. And then five distilleries that are not them that make Irish American whiskeys. Now, that particular company was founded in 2017, which is interesting because another company was founded before that. Officially, the licensor is 2013, right at the end of 2013, and the distillery itself opened in 2014 and spent 2 years trying to get approval for a label. The 2 years spent on this label had talks with two different governments and eventually was approved by both governments. Um, and that label said Irish style whiskey. This label took us 2 years just for that one word, Irish. And then recipes and everything happened, and we released that bottle that I just showed you in 2017. Um, so we were working on it and making it and bottling, barreling it and bottling it before we released it in 2017. And that means that it was released before this particular distillery was even producing. I'm not, like I said, I'm not mad at them, but it seems to me that some research that could have been done and should have been done was not done. Okay. We did that by 2017. And I know of other distilleries that have an Irish style whiskey on the market, and they're not mentioned either. Now, it was brought up to me, well, what if they mean stuff that's available where this person who wrote the article is? However, that is addressed in the article that this particular distillery discussed in the beginning is only available in Colorado. Therefore, wherever this person is who wrote the article doesn't have access to it. Now, a couple of these brands that were in the top five or whatever, I've never heard of, including the one that's a bottled cocktail. A couple of them I have heard of, and I'm not mad at them either. But what I am a little frustrated with is until somebody got approval to make Irish whiskey and call it Irish whiskey in the US, none of this existed. And I'm not saying that we brought it into existence. Somebody would have either way. However, it seems to me that you would mention more than just five when you're talking about this in a publication like the Wall Street Journal. It might make sense to mention more than just five plus one that's not even in that list. Just seems like it makes sense. This is the problem in the whiskey world specifically, but in the spirits world in general. This is the problem that we face. A company can make amazing products and do amazing things and never, ever, ever be noticed for it. I'm not I'm not trying to be, you know, the next big thing in whiskey, but I am trying to make good quality products, and we are trying to make things that taste good, things that people like, and people do like the products we make. But then somebody who seems to be a reasonably well educated food and beverage person only includes five distilleries, and one of them arguably should not be included, seems to be trying to actively slow down some of the small distilleries. Now, having said that, there are some smaller distilleries that have some deep pockets from silent partners or what have you, and they get just as much publicity because there's somebody who knows somebody or has enough money to get the attention of somebody, and then people who are supposedly friends forget friends. They forget to mention, hey, somebody's doing this before me. And that, I get that. I get it. You want to be the one. And that's your prerogative. However, somebody knows. Somebody knows better. And this is where my kind of rantings on the people we call taters comes in. You're looking for the ones you found in an article or on a video. And there's 100 brands making something similar that's better. But no one's going to hear about it because you won't talk about it. Because it didn't cost you $1,000 a bottle. So keep that in mind. We're talking, in broader terms, we're talking small business versus large business. Large businesses don't need your publicity. They don't need articles written about them. But small brands do. And guess what? The first distillery allowed to make a whiskey outside of Ireland and call it Irish whiskey, they're not in that article. But the Irish whiskey we used to make, that one, was really good. The Irish bourbon that we developed from that recipe is really, really good. And the probable re-emergence of our older recipe Irish whiskey is going to be really good. So, kind of shameless and ranting plug for the distillery I work for, but it is a video that I felt needed to be made and things I felt like I needed to say. So you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like or subscribe, but if you are interested or agree with me, please like and subscribe. Um, I will likely have something else to talk about by Sunday, at the very least. So, with all that being said, take my rant the way you will. Hope you have a good weekend. It is Friday night, so I'm going to go do family night and hang out with my wife and kids. And you should do something, I don't know, hang out with the wife and kids, whatever it is that you do, go do it. And have a great weekend. Cheers.